Hey Internet people, hi Lord Tamerlane, and I am back with yet another obscurity in miniature. I guess this figure today isn't the most obscure if you are an active board game player, but this is one of Flying Frog's new specialty allies that they've released. This is the Frontier Deputy, and I gotta say, I'm liking what I see here. So, if you're not familiar with what Flying Frog's been doing with Shadows of Brimstone, recently they've been putting out a lot of specialty figures in resin. They don't come with any kind of gameplay components, they're just extra figures. I want to say that this character was actually represented with a token, but I could be wrong because I really haven't used the ally expansion yet. We're still barely chugging our way through the base game and some of the enemy add-ons. But the one nice thing, if you've bought any of their resin heroes so far, there are a lot of little parts. They're really weedy, skinny, tiny figures with really minuscule contact points on their bases. But that is not the case with this new figure. Let's take a closer look at him. Obviously, he's got his good old shotgun there. I want to say it's a shotgun. It was the deputy that has the shotgun, I believe. I usually play as the bandito, so I wouldn't really know. Or the peony man. Got the duster there, all one piece. So those of you who are not into the building aspect of the figures, you don't need to worry about that. He's just going to be a couple of snips with some clippers, and he is good to go. You'll notice that he's got the nice slot of base there, which will just pop in his new base. These are actual flying frog bases, which is obviously upside down, but that's okay. Just turn yourselves over there. The original figures all came with filled-in bases, and they were quite a pain to get the figures to stay on them unless you did some texturing to help kind of, build up basing materials around their feet to help them stand up and stay up, or if you wanted to pin them. But their feet are so tiny, I really didn't want to take a chance pinning them. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to give him a quick clip and get him off of this sprue here, and we'll see how he stacks up to some of the other Flying Frog hero figures. So a few quick clips and our deputy friend here is good to go. That's it. That's all of the construction you will have to do outside of some super gluing and maybe some filing and cleaning up if you're going to be quite particular like I am about your figures. So he's got his nice slaughter base there. I really do like the detail on this guy. You can actually see that he has a badge on. The original deputy is got like a vague, mushy shape where it possibly could be. I just kind of guesstimated where it was supposed to be and gave it a try. I don't even know if he's actually got one molded on or not. This guy does, though. I do like that. He's got a nice lot of detail on him. Actual facial features, which will help since I do tend to paint mine. It does need a little bit of cleanup still. But for the most part, it wasn't anything drastic, wasn't anything unmanageable. So if you're primarily a board gamer and not a hobbyist, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle putting him together. It doesn't really require that much work. And he does pair up nicely with, the actual Brimstone figures. My concern is always that, are they going to be in scale with each other? But yes, they are. I always have flashbacks to the original Sedition Wars Kickstarter where we have figures in one scale, and then the second wave stuff was just absolutely tiny compared to them due to the shrinkage in PVC. So that's not the case here. Thankfully, they're all resin except for our gunslinger there with his terrible facial paints. We'll just ignore him and pretend he's not there. But again, so I mentioned this in another video before. So the original resins are very thin and quite a few pieces. I want to say our drifter, I think the drifter was one piece, but again, he's very flat. He's very, I don't know, lacking action or detail. Whereas our new deputy here, despite being just an ally, he's in a bit more of a dynamic pose. He's got his duster billowing in some imaginary wind there. He's got a grimace on his face. He's got the guns. He's got his belt, and you can see all the little buckles and everything on him. So there's a lot more character to him than, not on his backside at least, but there's a lot more to him than the original resins, and I'm really happy about that. So if you weren't a big fan of the original resin figures, you might want to take a look at some of these newer ally ones. One thing to keep in mind, though, since these are resin figures, they are just to replace tokens or to be used as specialty figures. They're not going to come with any kind of gameplay components. It's just going to be him and his base by itself. As far as I know, these are still only available on Flying Frog's website. This guy came out on the Black Friday sale they had. He should be available ever since that, so that shouldn't be an issue. And if you're interested, I want to say he's about $10. That's the going rate, it seems, for most of their resin figures. And if you are ever in the resin collecting market, that's a pretty fair price, and it's a pretty decent sculpt, especially compared to what we had to begin with. So with that said, if you're interested, check it out. I've got plenty of other videos here if you're interested in seeing what some of these figures look like out in the wild, sometimes with terrible paint jobs, sometimes not. Thanks for watching.